video, we're going to talk about the cap rate formula, how you would determine the cap rate of a property if it was more of a rental property or in a rental neighborhood. But to find the cap rate, you obviously need to know a couple of different things first. You need to know what the rent is to start with, so you can start from there. So we're going to pretend like in this situation, the rent rate on this house is $1,000 a month. Well, you have to determine what the annual income is for that. So you multiply that by 12 months in a year. We've got $12,000 in gross rents a year. The next step from that is you need to start subtracting out of that your annual costs of owning that property. We're going to pretend like you didn't have a mortgage on it, you paid cash for this property, because that's going to vary too much. So you're going to take out your taxes. So we're going to do easy numbers for that. So now we're down to $11,000. I highly doubt taxes are $1,000, but like I said, we'll use easy numbers. You need to take out your annual insurance. You should always be putting insurance on all of your rental properties. Now we're down to $10,000 in annual income from that. You need to have property management on your properties. Not all of our buyers do. Sometimes they property manage it themselves, but for this purpose, again, we're going to pretend like they are using property managers, and that on average is anywhere between 10 and 12% on an annual basis. So again, we'll take the annual and we'll multiply that by 10%, and that's going to give us $1,200 a year in property management. So let's take $1,200 off there. So now we're at $8,800. We also have some reserves for repairs set aside, and that's going to vary. But I typically do about, just say $500 to $1,000 a year. So you just subtract $1,000 from this and make it easy. Oops, $1,000. It's going to leave us with $7,800 a year in approximate net income from this rental property. These are probably pretty accurate as well. Obviously, taxes and insurance are going to vary, but it's not going to be too much based on that kind of a number there. Okay, so now we've got our annual operating income, or net income from our rental here. Now we can go find the cap rate, because everything is based off of net in my business here. It's not about gross, because gross cap rate means absolutely nothing. But some people try to slip that by you and say, oh, it's got a gross cap rate of X, when who cares? You want to know how much money you're taking home off of these properties. So you want to have for your cap rate is your net income on the property. So that's that there. You want to divide that by your, Whoops. You want to add that. Wow, hang on. I'm not even close on this. Good thing we can edit this out too.
Want me to pause?
No, it doesn't matter, because we can just stop it and go back. Okay, never mind. So, okay, there's two different ways to find the cap rate though. Some people will go off the ARV, so what the property is worth after it's fixed up, and some will go off of what they pay for it. So we're going to do both things here. So the first one, we'll do the ARV cap rate. I don't really like this one. I really like the purchase price one. So the net income down there divided by the ARV, and then you're going to come up with a number, and you're going to add then the repairs when you purchase the property. Hope that makes sense. So in this example, we're going to have the net income of $7,800 divided by the ARV. Let's call it a $100,000 house. Okay, that's going to be 0.7078, right? So we're about almost an 8% cap rate. Never mind, starting over on that. That's why I have computers do this for me. Okay, we're going to do the ARV is the net income divided by ARV plus repairs together. Again, I don't like this formula too much. So if your ARV is 100,000 and your repairs were 10,000, that means you've got $110,000 ARV plus repairs, and that's then you're taking your net income and dividing that by that. So you're going to go over here and take your 7,800 divided by 110,000. Basically, not much different on that one, but yeah, basically, you've got a 7%. 7.1 basically percent cap rate on that property. That's obviously skewed because of ARV. Again, I don't like that because you're obviously not paying $100,000 for the house. That's just what it's worth after you put that 10,000 bucks into it. So that's not a bad cap rate. It's not great because that's net. Again, that's the net cap rate. That's 7.1% return on your investment yearly. And actually, that does obviously go up because you're not putting $10,000 in repairs in every year. So then your second year, you would do the same formula, $7,800. You would just remove the repair part. So your cap rate's going to go up a little bit the next year. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And again, and the thing is too, you may not even have $1,000 needed in reserves after the first year too, because you may not have things to fix up because you just spent $10,000 fixing it up. So cap rate is kind of a funky thing sometimes to figure out. So let's now go back to what I prefer, which is what you paid for the house. Very similar formula. So if this ARV of $100,000 house, we actually purchased it based on that other example that we did, we ended up paying our buyer ends up paying $45,000 for the house. So we got net income divided by the purchase price plus the initial repairs. There's where your cap rate is going to get much better because this is what you really have invested in the property. So that's going to be your cap rate, your net cap rate again. All right, so let's put it in motion. The net income again doesn't change, $7,800, and you're going to divide that by the purchase price of $45,000 plus that $10,000 in repairs. So now we've got $55,000. So 7,800 divided by 55,000. Now we've got a net cap rate of 14%. And that's net. That's what your actual return on your investment is on your first year of owning the property. Now let's pretend like you don't have that anymore because it's year number 2. Now you're still only your initial investment of it is 45,000. I guess it really doesn't change because you still have that $55,000 invested in it, no matter what. So you still gonna do that. But even if you want to figure it that way, it's 7,800 divided by the 45,000 that you paid for it. Now you're up to 17% cap rate. So that's how you can figure cap rate. And this is the one I like the best because it really tells me what my actual return on my investment is. The ARV formula again skews it because it's basically telling you that based on what your property is worth is what you're making on your money, but that's not true because you didn't actually spend $100,000 on it. But some people do use that formula. Again, I don't. When I figure my numbers, I figure when I analyze a property, I do figure it for both, and I present that to my end buyers. for them to determine which one they prefer to have on there. But in a nutshell, that is cap rate calculations for you. If you have any questions, comment below.